Warehouse and Operations as a Career, the podcast. Welcome back. I'm Marty, and I find myself over in Nevada this week. Just really kind of a regular quarterly visit. I completed a couple of safety walks, checking some files, and I had the opportunity to visit with a few recruiters and watch them in action. I always enjoy getting to answer a few questions from applicants, especially about equipment usage in any warehouse positions they're applying for. It's been a great trip. I ran across an article from Government Executive this morning at govexec.com. I'll add the link in today's show notes. It kind of goes along with what we were talking about last week regarding our use of social media, and I wanted to share their thoughts real quick before we get started. It was titled, Job Recruiters Are Wary of 3 Things on Social Media. Let me read a couple of excerpts from the article. You ought to check it out. It's pretty interesting. Anyway, so it says that job recruiters are less likely to select candidates who appear to be self-involved or opinionated in their social media posts. The researchers also found that recruiters are less likely to hire employees who post content suggestive of drug or alcohol use. In 2018, 70% of employers reported looking at social media sites to help them evaluate potential employees, and almost that many, 60%, eliminated candidates on the basis of negative content, says Michael Tews, Associate Professor of Hospitality Management, citing a recent report by CareerBuilder. It's important for job candidates to be aware of how they portray themselves in social media. Tews notes that little is known about how much, weight hiring managers give to potentially negative social media posts. Therefore, he and his colleagues investigated the effects of 3 potentially negative topics: self-absorption, opinionatedness, and alcohol and drug use on hiring managers' decision-making. First, they ask, are your social media posts self-absorbed? The team recruited 436 hiring managers from a variety of organizations. 61% of them worked in the hospitality industry, and the remainder in industries ranging from information technology to healthcare. The researchers gave participants a scenario to read depicting a hypothetical job candidate who answered interview questions well and exhibited enthusiasm, but also appeared to be prone to job hopping. Next, they asked the participants to review components of the candidates' Facebook profiles and rate their employment suitability. Researchers randomly assigned each of the participants to view one of 16 different Facebook profiles showing either a male or female exhibiting self-absorption or not, opinionatedness or not, and alcohol and drug use or not. After reading these profiles, the hiring managers evaluated the candidate's employment suitability by providing an assessment of person to organization fit and an overall candidate evaluation. The researchers found that self-absorption negatively impacted recruiters' perceptions of candidates' employment suitability, and that self-absorption was more important than even opinionatedness or drug and alcohol use in driving these negative perceptions. Now, I found that a bit wild myself. Social networking sites are often thought of as incubators of self-absorption, motivating people to tell others about their every deed and thought, says Tews. It could be that hiring managers view individuals who are more self-absorbed and focused on their interests to be less likely to sacrifice for the benefit of other employees and the organization. Next, they advise to watch which opinions you show to job recruiters. The team also found that opinionatedness negatively affected perceptions of employment suitability. Social networking sites have given rise to unprecedented numbers of individuals expressing extreme and controversial ideals in a public forum, says Tews. People who post divisive subject matter may be viewed as more argumentative and less cooperative. Additionally, their views could run counter to those hiring managers, which may influence those managers' beliefs in the candidates. Finally, the team found that content suggesting alcohol and drug use negatively affected hiring managers' perception of employment suitability, although the effect was much smaller than for self-absorption or opinionatedness. The researchers conclude that individuals should refrain from posting content on social networking sites that suggest self-absorption, heavy opinions, and alcohol and drug use during the job search process. And this research paper appears in the International Journal of Selection and Assessment, and I believe that source was Penn State. It's a really good read. You should check it out. It certainly made me think even more about our social media profiles and feeds. You know, like we shared last week, it's out there. It's going to be used. We just need to clean it up, at least while we're out looking for work or starting our new careers. So today I'd like to share my week with you. Some weeks are just filled with opportunities, I guess. No, really, it's been a great week, and I've been very proud of a couple of supervisors that's given me a call. This one is really good. A supervisor called that his facility had bought a new slip sheet attachment. The maintenance department had attached it, but they'd left off the freight guard or had taken it off. An associate noticed it during his pre-trip and reported it. He, of course, didn't want to drive it like that. He was afraid the freight would have gotten damaged, and, of course, he'd have been blamed for it. It was just an oversight, and by his due diligence, he reported it, and it was corrected. Oh, and I really like this one here. A supervisor had rolled out his near-miss program last week, and already he's seen the crew stepping up. An unloader noticed a newer employee stooping over to pick up a 38-pound case of cans. He went to the file, got a near-miss report sheet, and went to the trailer with the new associate, and they both filled it out together. He shared the proper way to lift the cases, and they talked about the ergonomics of lifting and how important it is to practice proper lifting. They brought it over to the supervisor, and he shared it with the group the following morning. I thought that one was really, really good. And then I had an HR manager share a call that he'd received from one of his associates, and the employee was pretty upset. It seems the associate was involved in an auto accident, off the clock and away from work, on his own time, and wouldn't be able to return to work for a few days. Now, his contention was that those days should be paid by the company because it wasn't his fault he'd been involved in an accident. Now, I understand going a week without pay is tough. I asked the HR manager, did he advise him to check with his auto insurance company or maybe fill out a claim with whoever had hit him? He didn't really express all that to him, though. I think, well, first, I guess sometimes we employees talk before we think things through. And then again, our employers should sometimes help us through our thoughts, maybe take a little extra time with us. We're trying to get all this life and adult stuff figured out anyway. We probably do need to learn to think first and then talk. Remember the old saying, we were given 2 ears and only 1 mouth for a reason. When we lose our tempers or we're not willing to at least listen to others, we can leave such a negative impression that we could be putting our jobs at risk. Let's just think things through. Let's see what happened next. This one was really bad. I heard about a forklift and a single electric rider jack getting together, but it didn't end well. I heard that the EPJ operator ended up with a broken leg. I haven't seen the accident investigation yet, but do we really need to see one? It should not have happened. You know, all of our training for either piece of equipment has taught us to stay focused, watch for others, and never operate our equipment if others are in the area or present. We know to stop, make eye contact, and understand the other's intention before we move another inch. Now there is a coworker, a peer of ours, that is going to be out of work for a few days, maybe longer if his leg is truly broken. I personally hate hearing things like this. They're so avoidable. We need to follow our training. Now I understand it's hard, staying focused while we're striving for productivity. It's rough, but the alternative could be something we couldn't live with. Let's do one more and I'll get to the point. So an associate is told that their hours are going to be changed. Of course, this wasn't cool, but it was going to have to be, and actually it couldn't be avoided. Now the employee didn't like it, and there were a couple of different options on the table, but they ended up just getting mad and didn't want to talk about it. Yet they went to the floor and started talking about it to everyone that couldn't offer any solutions to them. They ended up out of a job because that position was done away with, and they hadn't gone back to the supervisor to discuss the options available and that were on the table. I so wish they had handled this one a little differently. The company lost a good employee, and the employee walked away from a promising career. So just another typical week as a manager. But seriously, joining the workforce is hard. We here at WAOC talk a lot about responsibility. As an employee, we have a lot of responsibility. We are responsible for ourselves, our earning potential, our jobs. And we're responsible for our coworkers, and we're responsible for our company and following all of its procedures and rules. As we've learned, there is a purpose to them, though. If we don't want to follow all the directions or would rather not take on those responsibilities, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that thinking, all we have to do is give notice and move on. We may just be in the wrong industry. Our warehouse and transportation jobs can be dangerous. Things are very structured because of it. There are rules and ways to act or react to situations and training for us because we have to all work together. Our plans and careers are part of all that structure. Let's all do our part is all I'm saying. Well, I have one more stop today and I'm on my way back home. I hope I shared something that you can relate to today and it helped you in one way or another. If any of this rings a bell for you, start up a conversation on either Twitter or Facebook, where we can be found using that little @ WHSEANDOPS. Until next week, let's listen, know what we're going to say before we say it, and stay focused on our tasks so we can all go home safely.